Well, good morning, and here we are on the road, actually. If you notice that the background behind me kind of looks like a hotel room, that's because I'm bringing it to you from a hotel room this week. Yakima, Washington. We are visiting family in the beautiful city of Yakima. I'm going to keep it all upbeat and positive about how beautiful Yakima is while we're in Yakima, because you never know who's listening in. But anyway, welcome to another Saturday morning, and we're going to be chatting today about financial planning. Doesn't that sound exciting? Trust me, our guest and our approach to the topic today is going to be a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy it. But we got to get going. So put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation, because it's time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. Definitely need the coffee this morning. We came to Yakima as part of our continuation of celebrating Carol's birthday, which was this past week. I took her out, and I had some birthday gifts for her. Took her out to a really nice dinner on her birthday on Wednesday, and then we are in Yakima hanging out with Shalane and Dustin and another family friend, Rebecca, who lives in Portland but is here for the weekend. And so we did some celebrating last night and then tried to catch some sleep, and we've got things planned for today, which I won't talk about because some of them are surprises for Carol. But anyway, welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. If you are tuning in live, it is Saturday, October 7th, 2023. And if you're watching this later, it's whatever time and date that you're watching this. So I'll just leave it at that. Hope everybody's been having a good week. I hope that that you're doing well, you're staying healthy. Weather is really nice here. We both in Spokane and in Yakima, we're kind of getting that fake summer that comes back after fall starts. You get a few days of when it it rains and the weather really cools down. And now it's well, right now it's not hot, it's not warm here, but the sky is blue out here, and I believe it's supposed to get up into the mid 70s in Yakima today. So yes, indeed, it's very pleasant. I want to get into our topic, so we're going to talk about some sweet and savory things here to get us underway. And there are some important things going on. I should also check and say hello to some people. I put some messages up there, but hello to Carla, to Jerry Thompson, Kathy Garlick. Who else is on here that I missed? Carissa is here. Rick is here. Rick, did you have a good birthday? I know you also had a birthday. Yesterday was your birthday, right? Scott, good morning. Looking to see Kathy McCormick is on here. Excellent. All right. And I'm squinting a little bit. When I'm at home, my setup at home is I have a couple of big monitors that I can look at, which means that I don't necessarily need to have reading glasses on to see the screen. I have to do a little, it's not that terrible, but I have to do a little more focusing when I'm only using the laptop, which is what we've got today here. Good. Rick says his birthday was good. I'm glad to hear that. I do wish you a one day belated happy birthday. All right, sweet and savory. There are some things this week that I think, or this month really, I was reminded of a couple of things in the last few days. Did you know that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month? As with so many things, it's not like October's the only time we should be concerned about that, or the only time that we should take action if there are issues that we're dealing with or know of someone dealing with. But it's a time to bring attention to it for sure. I had a conversation recorded. We're doing a lot more recording the conversations with our guests who come on coffee breaks. I recorded a conversation the other day with a lady who is going to be on, actually going to be a while, several weeks before the episode airs. But one of her causes, one of the things that she's very passionate about, is domestic violence awareness and dealing with those situations. I'm just going to play just a brief segment of the conversation that I had with Pamela Jean, and just where she's talking about this issue.
That night, I put in a notice at work. I had to call my boss. I told him, I said, I have to leave. No questions asked. Everybody was very aware of my situation and what was going on. My boss was very, very sad, but I had a couple girls come over with me that night. We packed up my bedroom that I was renting. My dad paid for the U-Haul the next day I went to get. And I put an ad on the Spokane Craigslist looking for a room to rent, and had 5 days with the RV. I had no idea where I was going. I had no idea where I was going to end up. But my dad gave me $2,000 and said, go start your life somewhere new. And we started driving, and my dog and I ended up in the beautiful Pacific Northwest.
Again, just a cause that I think we all need to be aware of. And some people out there, we're not making the show heavy, but I do want to make sure that people consider the fact that you may yourself be in a situation, you may know someone in a situation, and there are ways to get out of that. Since we are in Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I think it's wise to bring awareness. So there are numbers you can call. You can find this online. You can find local organizations that will help. You can also call 211 from any place in the country, and they can help connect you to resources. This was also brought to my attention. My son Christopher works in IT and focuses on cybersecurity. And October is also Cybersecurity Awareness Month. In fact, I should have remembered that, because I think it was about a year ago that Christopher joined as a guest on Coffee Breaks. And we talked about ways that we can stay safe and secure when we're doing things online. And you can go online and find a number of just basic tips. We hear about them all the time: strong passwords, changing passwords, being aware of sites that we go to, that type of thing. So yeah, just that cybersecurity Awareness Month as well. October has a lot of awarenesses. got to be aware of getting our costumes ready for Halloween as well. Do you remember that we had Sid Niemeyer on a few weeks back talking about his book, and then we did an update a couple of weeks ago that he had gotten an advanced copy of the actual book. The book's now available. Sid Niemeyer's novel, Atomic Peril, is now available on Amazon.com. So I just wanted to let you know that. You can go onto Amazon, just put in Atomic Peril, and it should come up as an option, either as a Kindle or a paperback. My copy actually arrived at my house just as I was getting ready to leave to drive here yesterday. So yeah, looking forward to reading this because I've heard very good things about it. Yes, do you have a special day this week? Let us know in the chat if we missed. I didn't have any birthdays or anniversaries on my list, which doesn't mean there weren't any. It means that I probably wasn't looking closely enough at my calendar, because it's not unusual that I missed something. And good meowing afternoon and happy Catterday, Kim Baker. Good to have Kim here. Kim, if you didn't get a chance to watch, Kim joined as my co-host last week. And if you didn't get to see that episode where we talked about synesthesia, go back and find it. You want to watch this. You want to watch it for the information. You also want to watch it just to see Kim on here in person. So, all right. Let's get on to our topic today. I'm excited about this one. It's one that I've wanted to do for a while, and I had the opportunity to meet Chris Girbés, who is a certified financial planner, and he is a co-founder of a company called Five Oceans, and he'll reference it just a little bit in our conversation, but primarily his company and Chris himself focuses on younger Gen X and Gen Y corporate founders or company founders, entrepreneurs, C-level executives, but at that younger generation edge. However, having said that, Chris, through his career, has worked with people in all generations, all aspects of life, and just wanted to chat with him and ask him to share with us some basic principles that we need to think of. Financial planning is one of those things that is very broad in term, and we sometimes go, well, I don't need financial planning because I'm not a millionaire. I maintain my budget on a spreadsheet or in Quicken or someplace. And Chris is talking about the fact that really financial planning is about planning for what we're doing in life now, what we want to do in the near term, and what our long-term plans are. But rather than give you any spoilers beyond just saying that, give you the opportunity to meet Chris Girbés. Well, Chris, welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. Thanks for taking the time to be here and share with us a little bit today.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, I think the first thing, just from the standpoint of both information and credibility, certified financial planner, that CFP designation after your name, can you just share a little bit what's the significance of having that designation, and why is it important for people who are looking to engage someone to help them with their finances?
I actually like to think of a CFP as someone who has knowledge that is sort of 100 yards wide, but 1 inch deep. So just a knowledge about a lot of different areas across the financial world of financial planning. And then needs to be really good at being able to identify opportunities and then pull in experts who have knowledge that's a yard wide and 100 inches deep. For example, like a CPA in regards to tax, or an estate planning attorney when it comes to estate planning, so on and so forth. The CFP actually, as an organization, does have pretty stringent standards in terms of integrity, in terms of being acting as a fiduciary. I think the CFP designation gives you a little bit, more confidence that you can trust that the person is going to give you solid advice. Again, don't go in blind even with the CFP, but that's my personal opinion.
What do you typically think for people are some of the elements that need to be thought about and included in considering what a lifestyle financial plan needs to have in it?
That's a really big question.
Yeah.
I want to immediately refer to the analogy of eating healthy or just being healthy and personal trainer. So you mentioned the average person. I do this, I think it's fine, etc. Um, we know most people inherently know what we need to do to get ahead financially or do better financially or utilize our financial resources in a more productive way. It's not rocket science. Save more than you spend is a pretty foundation, pretty simple concept to understand. So is eating organic fruits and vegetables and, and high quality proteins and not junk. Also easy to understand. It a lot harder to do in practice. And so if you want to be held accountable, if you want to add some accountability to that aspect of your life, you want to do better, you want to get some better insight than you already have in terms of health, you might hire a personal trainer. And the same goes for financial health with a financial advisor. I very much so think, I think everybody could use financial planning. Um, one of the points I wanted to make in this conversation is that there's never in the history of financial planning actually ever been a financial plan that was accurate. That's never happened, because financial planning is a process and it evolves. There's no way I could give you, Steve, today. I could take every data point, know your entire financial situation, all of your assets, all the details of everything, all the important people in your life, and I could hand you a plan. And the one thing that I can guarantee you is that that's not how things are going to work out. That the plan is going to be inaccurate because life is unpredictable. Life happens. Nobody knows what's gonna happen, next year, let alone 3 years and 5 years from now. So financial planning is a process, and to have somebody that, again, an accountability partner is part of it, but also to help guide you to help you make sure you're focusing on what's important. And there are professional organizations. So I'm going to mention one right now, the XY Planning Network, that does focus on serving Gen X and Gen Y, but it's a network of advisors who largely you'll find advisors that will give you, these are fee only fiduciary, high quality advisors that will give you advice on an hourly basis. So you can pay them by the hour. Maybe you have some big change in your life. You just need someone that, knows about personal finance to guide you and give you a couple of big pieces of advice. Maybe you pay them for a few hours of their time. To subscription fees. So you got monthly retainers, a lot of times that are very affordable. And even a couple of other options. So financial advice I believe for the masses is available today in a way that it's never been available before. And I think that that's a really good thing. So, for anyone's listening who's like, I don't even have enough money to pay an advisor, before you tell yourself that, maybe look into a couple of these resources, and you might actually, learn otherwise and hire an advisor that really makes a difference in your life.
We tend to look at our lives on the basis of where am I right now, and kind of what is tomorrow literally, or next week or next month or even next year likely to bring. And that's part of financial planning, is we do need to consider elements of what we're trying to accomplish right now, planning for the immediate future. But there are elements of it, even for a younger person, that are important to consider what we're trying to accomplish long term, and where we're hoping to be, if not certain of where we're going to be 10 years down the road, 20, 30 years down the road. How does working with a good financial advisor help to provide both some direction with that and maybe some increased confidence about the decisions we are making?
I mean, you have folks who are focused on, whole life financial planning, financial life planners who are really going to spend time focusing on what are you trying to accomplish in the current term, medium term, and long term, and then help guide you and focus your resources, including financial resources. But I think there are even firms out there that pay attention to other resources too, like time and energy.
Right.
So focusing your time, energy, and money in ways to accomplish those goals that are important to you in the short, medium, and long term. that's what, to me, real financial planning is in 2023. It's quite astonishing how many people don't actually know what their goals are, don't actually know what they really want to achieve in life. And the way we put it, don't actually know who they really want to be in the world. They haven't spent enough time focusing on that plan. A lot of people are focused on like financial plan and financial tactics and haven't put nearly the same amount of focus into the bigger picture. Financial planning should only be a subset of life planning. And so, a lot of advisors out there, say, well, we'll ask you about your goals and we'll help align your financial resource with your goals. But that's not that helpful if you don't know what your goals are. And I actually believe that the vast majority of folks, we're kind of going through life. We're kind of going through the motions. We haven't dedicated the time and energy into figuring out who we really want to be, what we really want to do. And I think that's something that needs to get better, that we can be better at as individuals to lead more fulfilling lives, more fulfilling, happier lives. I think it's something that advisors could get better at, creating processes to actually help people figure out what they really want and who they want to be. It's very rare that it's not, never. There are plenty of people, but it's more rare to have someone come in and say, I've actually invested a lot of resources into, thinking about what I really want to accomplish in my life and what kind of person I want to be to my family and my friends and the type of time I want to have and what I want to do professionally. I would say figure out ways to dedicate time into getting really intentional about what you want to accomplish in the next year, 5 years, 50 years, etc. And then surround yourself with people who can help you align your resources to make that happen. And one of those people can be a financial advisor.
A lot of the work that you do, and the main focus of the work that you do with your company, Five Oceans Advisors, is really focused on like Gen X and Gen Z entrepreneurs and founders and helping them out. And so if somebody went to your website, they may or may not find things that apply to them. But there are elements, it seems to me, as I've looked on your site, about some of the principles and some of the approach, such as life strategy, that have elements that would be useful and would be applicable to anybody regardless of their circumstances. And I don't know if you can delve into that a little bit more and share a little bit about that.
Sure, I will. I'm happy to share about life strategy, our life strategy process. I'm going to put a pin in it for a second. And I want to go back to, you had asked a question about, and I'm not sure that I'd fully caught it at the time, but sort of the average financial plan for the average person. Let me just talk like in some actual concrete concepts here. You need to have some sort of mechanism for creating money, making money, earning money, saving money, right? This is the average financial plan. So some mechanism for saving money. Every adult should have a basic core estate planning documents. We all need to, and I'm going to use the word need, we need to invest. And the reason I say that is because if you don't, your money is going to lose purchasing power every day to inflation, even a normal inflation rate, let alone a higher inflation rate. So we need to invest. We need to outpace inflation, even to stay exactly where we are, right? With our dollar. So we need to invest. We need to protect our capital, aka insurance. Mm-hmm. So maybe you've accumulated some assets, especially when you have a family, or if you have anyone really that you care about or is going to need you to be taken care of. Protecting what you have. So insurance planning is a really important thing. By the way, for younger people, and you're right, I do specialize personally in Gen X and Gen Y, not quite Gen Z. I think maybe that's maybe teenagers right now, but Gen X and Gen Y, Gen Y being millennials. I do specialize in, and for almost everybody out there, 99.9% of young people, your most valuable asset is actually your human capital. That's your ability to get up and work and produce and earn income. And that's not just some sort of like high level concept. That's actually math. And that if you take the present value of all of the future cash flows that you're going to earn over the next 30 years, you're going to get a massive number that by far will exceed any kind of savings that you've had, by the time that you've saved at age 25 or 30, even 30. So for young people, Your human capital is your most valuable asset. How do you protect your human capital? So now you have a child, your financial plan works as long as you work for the next 20 years. Well, what if you're gone?
Yeah.
Life insurance. It's a big, important thing. Retirement planning. So that essentially means taking advantage of tax advantaged accounts, like maximizing and optimizing around where you should be saving and investing your money. So the average financial plan for the average person should encompass all of those things. And I hope I'm not missing anything, but, and then you wanted me to talk about life strategy. So as I mentioned, we really believe that financial planning should really only be a subset of life planning. And life strategy is simple. I mean, for us, we've created this. We're not the only financial planning firm out there that has frameworks like this, but I do think that they are few and far between. So if this sounds valuable to you, you know, probably look for a firm like that. But for us, we talk about our personal 5 oceans. That's, you know, has a little bit to do with brand and in our name, but we are our construct is personal 5 oceans, which is finances, career, health, relationships, and fun. So that encompasses theoretically all the areas of your life. What we do is we constantly take our clients' temperature on what their satisfaction is in all those areas of life. So I'm just going to give an example. Somebody is a 4 on health, right? And they say also, when we take their temperature on, well, you know, where would you rather be? Well, of course, they'd rather be an 8 or a 9 or a 10. Well, can we then focus and point some financial resources in a way that gets that number up for you? You have, I'm your financial advisor, so I'm seeing the whole picture, right? You have savings, you're spending money over here on these things. Health is kind of important. None of this matters if you're not around anymore. You know, without life strategy, pulling out these, asking those questions and getting clients to actually take a look at their life more broadly. Without that, we would just simply be trying to grow your wealth as much as possible. And that's cool, but not if you have a heart attack, and not if you have broken relationships with, you know, with your kids, or, you know, I'm making stuff up here, but that whole building wealth thing becomes a lot less valuable if these other areas, if you're not firing on, you know, all cylinders in these other areas of life. So there are 2 kind of overarching strategies in wealth building. One is, well, what's your goal? My goal is to have as much as I can. I don't know, like, what's as much as I can? That's my goal, is to optimize for as much as possible. And I actually think that's most human beings' default goal. And the problem with that is that as much as I can or as much as possible is not quantifiable. Well, the problem with it not being quantifiable, you can't put a number on as much as possible, is that it's not achievable. If you can't quantify it, you can't achieve it. And because it's not achievable, overall, it has a net negative impact on your happiness and your life. And if that is your goal, your decisions, the driver of your decisions are, you know, going to come from certain places, but possibly driven largely by the ego.
Yeah.
The concept of, if instead is the goal is to have enough, well, what is enough? Well, that's a good question, but the good news is that enough is actually quantifiable. You can crunch the numbers and come up with what that number is that's enough. Now, in order to do that, you need to do the deeper work of what you want to accomplish and who you want to be and what you want to do and things like that. But once you do that work, you can translate that into a number. Now you know what is enough. And because it's quantifiable, it is achievable. And so you can see yourself working toward that, or you can even realize I'm already there. It's already behind me. Okay. And so the net impact on your happiness there, on your happiness there, is positive. So that's another core concept that is easier said than done. Look, I wake up plenty of days thinking about as much as possible. And I think it's easy for us to do that, but to have, again, an advisor and a process to help kind of bring you back to the concept of what's enough and what's important, I think is very valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with that, and again, bringing this back over and over again to the role of an advisor, not only to bring a professional expert perspective to certain things, but to be that, you mentioned accountability. And I think sometimes just an objective other set of eyes and ears. Sometimes within our own family, husband, wife, or whatever the setting might be, we talk about things, but we're inside that fishbowl. And sometimes to have somebody who's looking at it from the outside and just simply helping us address things in a different way can help us. I mean, how many times have we done that, Chris, where we're looking for advice from somebody, and the more we talk and hear ourselves talking through something, they didn't even have to respond, right? It's just having a different person in the room who isn't part of that same inner circle. And that's important.
Agreed. And to take it a step further, people come to us for advice very, very clearly. And we do give very direct advice. Don't get me wrong. Like, here's where you go to do this. Here's a specific strategy that you need to execute. You can execute it on your own, or we can help you execute it. Whether that be, again, a tax strategy, an investment strategy. How should I invest my money? Okay, well, let's first figure out what the goal is for this money. And then once we do, we'll tell you exactly how we would recommend you invest it. But I always tell people, our job is actually not to tell you what to do with your money. Our job is to provide you perspective, provide you education,
right?
Give you our perspective, and to ask really good questions so that you can make the best decisions for you and your family. Yeah. And to your point about sometimes we just talk and we answer our own question, I think that can play into that whole, our job is to ask really good questions. And then, yes, there's some education there too, and our perspective, and combined with those three things, you come up with really good solutions that you feel good about.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I know, you mentioned a few minutes ago that obviously there are going to be different variations from the standpoint of person's financial position and life status and everything else. So no, in no way did I expect, or did any of us expect, that you're going to be able to address every unique circumstance, but I think you have given us plenty to think about. And if nothing else, it gets people considering some of these aspects of life and life planning and life strategy, and including, but not exclusively, their financial plans. But you've provided us with a lot of good food for thought. So Chris Girbés, thank you so much for sharing your perspective as a certified financial planner, but also just from the perspective of your own life experience. Thanks for being with Coffee Breaks with Steve today.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope it was helpful, and you and your audience, even a small piece of value out of it would make me happy. So thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Well, best to you, your business, and your family. Take care.
You. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Chris Girbés, and a lot of great comments. Thank you so much for the comments in the chat, including those talking about the fact that, that this idea of building wealth, not everybody has a starting point or a baseline that allows them to do a lot of saving or investing. And certainly, as we kind of said at the close, Chris's intent and the intent of our conversation was not to imply that everybody can do everything. But I appreciate the fact that Chris's perspective is not just about money. He talks about some things that I think are worthwhile for all of us to think about, and it comes about in different ways. How do we, depending on your resources, different people even have access to different ways of approaching qualities of life that deal with health and deal with relationships and deal with fun. But it's all worthwhile, I think, to think about. And I'm glad that you put some of those comments in here, because when Chris has the opportunity to come in and review and respond, one of the things you probably gathered is that Chris Girbés is not a suit. You get a lot of people who work in some of these professional capacities, and you expect the pinstripes and the tie and the white shirt. And Chris Girbés is definitely, yes, obviously, partially because of the realm in which he operates with Gen X and Gen Y, not Gen Z, as I said at one point during our conversation, Gen X and Gen Y primarily at this point. But just his overall approach in nature is very casual and very laid back, and I appreciate that. So once again, hopefully the conversation provided some insights on some things for everybody, above and beyond even just talking about financial resources, which is why we called it Financial Planning for Life, because there's a lot of just life goals and life planning can go into that. I hope you gained something from that. And a great beard. Yeah, Kim. I want to share a little bit about what is going to be coming up. We're going to actually be finished a little bit early today. You might have also been able to gather because we had some edits in that conversation. My conversation with Chris Girbés was actually much longer than the 20 minutes or so that you saw. And we're going to be working to provide a more in-depth version on the YouTube channel and give you an opportunity if you want to go back and hear more from him and watch more of our conversation. You can do that. But it was good to have the conversation with Chris. Now I'm kind of just rabbit trailing here. So let's talk about what's coming up next week and what you can look forward to in the coming weeks on Coffee Breaks. Here's a little preview of next week's show.
I was teaching one of my students called Bradley, and he said, I started watching these videos on YouTube where vocal coaches react to singers, and I found them really entertaining. And he said, because I'm a sort of vocal coach and I have a strange personality, he thought that I would be someone that people might want to watch doing that. And I was like, okay, well, what's the reaction video? I didn't know anything about it. It's something I didn't know existed. And so I made a YouTube channel. Obviously, I had to come up with a big brand behind it because it's just, I wanted to have a big old concept, and I started making videos, like just a few very strange videos, like why do you sound better when you sing in the shower? And just stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, it's time. I'm going to do a reaction video. And then all of a sudden, like the subscriber count and the view count was crazy. And I got loads of suggestions. Like, I want to see this. I want to see this. And so it was just like the people have spoken,
Yeah, you may already have gathered Lolly Wren, who has a YouTube channel. She goes by the Fairy Voice Mother. She is a vocal coach and she is a prolific YouTuber, does reaction videos, but her reaction videos are quite literally a masterclass and not just for singers. You don't have to be a singer to appreciate and enjoy what Lolly is sharing. And my conversation with her was a lot of fun. You can also tell she's from England, and that's always fun just to listen to somebody with that different voice quality. So please do tune in next week. By the way, she has at this stage, I think approaching or maybe by now over 175,000 followers on her YouTube channel. So she's got a lot of people paying attention to what she does. And I know a few of you out there have seen some of Lolly's reaction videos as the Fairy Voice Mother. It's a kick, and you're going to want to tune into that. After that, after next week, there's going to be about exactly a 3-week hiatus. I'm going to be traveling, not to Yakima, but to the East Coast. So October 21st and 28th and November 4th, we're going to take a break. And there'll be some time for Carol and I to do some exploring on the East Coast while we're back there. Don't worry, we will be back. And don't worry, I'll post some reminders so you're not wondering if you missed something or if I disappeared off the face of the earth or got kidnapped by aliens or anything like that. But then we will be back. And if you were on here a couple of months ago, you may recall that we had guests. We had Chris Kalenda and Dee Dee Kiso on to talk about the Sabre 6 Foundation, which works with veterans. Well, we're going to have a very special episode on November 11th, which is Veterans Day. Chris and Dee Dee will be back to talk specifically about Veterans Day, but also to talk about how we can do a better job. We in our country can, I hate to say do a better job, but how we can better understand and connect with veterans, those who have served our country, and particularly in many cases, those who served in combat situations or other situations that put them under a lot of stress. And we sometimes aren't sure how we're supposed to talk to and approach those veterans or their families or the families of those who may have lost their lives serving our country. So anyway, without going into too much detail there, I've already recorded the conversation with Chris and Dee Dee about this, and it was a bit emotional for me to talk about this. But I will be in Petaluma, California with Chris and with Dee Dee, and we're going to try to pick up some other things because they have a very special opportunity to be the grand marshals and to be honored guests of the city of Petaluma for their Veterans Day parade and their Veterans Day activities. I'm going to be there with them, and we'll be broadcasting from Petaluma when we come back after the brief hiatus. And then on November 18th, in a few weeks out, Ann Davis East is going to be back. Ann is with us usually a few times a year to talk about what's on her bookshelf and to give us some ideas of what might be on, should be on ours on the basis of some titles and authors. And she usually has a theme, and we'll see if, as we're approaching the holidays, maybe that's what it'll be about. But Ann will be back on November 18th with us. And then on November 25th, I played that brief clip of Pamela Jean talking about domestic violence awareness, which is one of her key causes she advocates for. But she's a musician. She's a singer and a songwriter, and we're going to be sharing some of her music. She's going to talk about life as a musician, how she got started and what it's like living life on the road. And that is also going to be a fun conversation. So you'll want to be back for that. November 25th, that's actually Thanksgiving weekend. That's the Saturday immediately following Thanksgiving. So you can see we're looking out there ways and getting ready to come into the holiday season ourselves. It's amazing to think we're already now into October and we're going to be snowballing, no pun intended, as we get into the winter months, but toward the holidays and the end of the year. So what are the topics you would like to discuss with us? This is your virtual coffee table. We want you to be a part of it. So if you've got ideas about topics, share them with me. You can, most of you, all of you, or most of you are friends with me on Facebook. So if you want to use Messenger or some other way of getting that information to me, that's great. But if you want to email, you can reach me at cbwsteve@comcast.net to share your ideas. It's where you can share anything you want to talk about with me as well. And, or just, find me. I'm around usually. Don't forget that we are also around on several podcast sites as well as on YouTube. And as a reminder, if you're already on YouTube watching this, or if you want to go to the YouTube channel and just do a lookup of CBWS or Coffee Breaks with Steve, you can find the YouTube channel, and I just invite you to subscribe. Now, I'm not looking to reach levels like Lolly Rand necessarily, but we want to make sure that when we have these great topics and fantastic guests, that we have the opportunity to share that with as many people as we can. I just want to make sure that people who take the time to join us on Coffee Breaks with Steve are having the opportunity to get the word out about what they're doing to as many people as possible. So anyway, once again, I've rambled enough. Thank you for being here. I'm thrilled to be here, even when I'm in, maybe especially when I'm in places like Yakima, Washington. But I'm privileged and honored and humbled to be with you every time that we're together. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedules to be here. And you can see we're going to wrap it up pretty much on time today, maybe even a couple of minutes early. So with that, I will just say, as I do each time we're together, please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. We all have a voice. We all have power to do something. God bless you. Have a great week. I'll see you next time.